Have you ever lost something and could not understand why? Maybe it was a job you worked so hard to get. Maybe it was a relationship you gave everything to. Maybe it was a door you knocked on again and again and it never opened. You tried, you really tried, and still nothing came. And in the silence, you asked the same question that so many people ask. Why, God, why did you let this happen to me? Today, this lesson is for you. It is for anyone learning English who wants more than grammar and vocabulary. It is for anyone who has ever felt forgotten, passed over, or left behind. Because what I am about to share with you is not just a lesson about faith. It is a lesson about sight, about learning to see what your eyes cannot show you. There are forces working around your life right now that you cannot see. There are dangers you will never know about because you were protected from them before they could reach you. There are people, places, and paths that looked like blessings from the outside, but were actually traps. And God, in his quiet and gentle way, moved them out of your life before they could do their damage. But here is the hard part. His protection did not feel like protection. It felt like rejection. It felt like failure. It felt like being left out, left behind, or simply not good enough. And that feeling, if you carry it long enough, becomes a story you tell yourself. A story that says, maybe God does not care. Maybe he is not listening. Maybe I am completely on my own. That story is not true. In this lesson, we are going to look at 7 signs that God is actively protecting you from something or someone you cannot see. 7 signs that what felt like a closed door was actually a shield. 7 signs that the silence you heard was not absence, but preparation. By the end of this lesson, you will begin to look at your losses differently. You will begin to see that the hand that was holding you back was the same hand that was holding you together. And maybe, just maybe, you will find peace in something you once cried about. Because what felt like rejection was actually redirection. Let us begin. Sign 1. There is a feeling that is very hard to explain. It is not exactly fear. It is not sadness. It is something quieter than both of those. A small voice inside you that says something is not right here. A heaviness in your chest when you think about a certain person. A pause in your spirit when you are about to say yes to something that looks on the outside like a perfectly good opportunity. Most people ignore this feeling. They call it overthinking. They call it anxiety. They tell themselves to stop being so sensitive, and they push forward anyway. Because the opportunity looks good. Because the person seems kind. Because everyone around them thinks it is a great idea, and they do not want to be the one who says no. But later, sometimes much later, the truth comes out. And they say the same words so many people before them have said. I knew. I knew something was wrong. I just did not listen. Here is what I want you to understand today. Peace is not just a feeling. For people of faith, peace is a compass. It is the quiet signal that tells you which direction is safe. And when that peace suddenly disappears, when it is replaced by an uneasy, restless, unsettled feeling deep in your chest, that is not your imagination running away from you. That is a warning. The Bible speaks about a peace that goes beyond all human understanding. It is a peace that does not always make logical sense. You might have every reason in the world to feel calm, and yet something inside you is not calm at all. Or you might have every reason to feel afraid. And yet inside, there is a deep and steady stillness that says, you are okay. Keep going. Both of these are signs. Both are God speaking in the language of your spirit rather than the language of your mind. Think about a time when you felt uneasy about something and could not explain why. Maybe it was a new friendship that moved too fast. Maybe it was a business deal that looked perfect on paper but felt wrong in your gut. Maybe it was a city you were thinking of moving to, a house you were considering buying, a path you were about to walk down. And something inside you quietly said, wait. That feeling was not weakness. That feeling was not irrational fear. That feeling was protection wearing the disguise of discomfort. Your mind sees what is directly in front of you, but God sees what is around the corner. He sees the person behind the mask. He sees where that road eventually ends. He sees what that one decision will cost you 3 years from now. And because he loves you, he speaks. Not always with a loud and dramatic voice, very often with a quiet one. So the next time that unexplained unease comes over you, do not rush to silence it. Do not dismiss it as doubt or weakness. Sit with it. Bring it to prayer. Ask God what he is trying to tell you. Because sometimes the most loving thing God does is make you uncomfortable enough to stop. Your peace is your compass, and when it leaves, pay attention. Sign 2. You tried. You really genuinely tried. You sent the application. You made the call. You showed up early and stayed late. You prepared, you practiced, you put in the work. You did everything right by every measure you could think of, and still the door did not open. You tried again. Still nothing came back. You tried a third time, and somehow impossibly the door seemed to close even more firmly than before. And quietly, painfully, you began to wonder, what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Sometimes a door closes not because you are not good enough, but because what is behind that door is not good enough for you. Or more precisely, because God can see clearly what you cannot. He can see what is waiting on the other side of that door. And he loves you too much to let you walk through it. There is a moment in the book of Exodus that many people pass over without thinking much about it. When God led the Israelites out of Egypt, he did not take them on the shortest road. There was a faster path, a more direct route along the coast that would have saved them a great deal of time and difficulty. But the Bible tells us clearly that God did not lead them that way. Why? Because that road passed through the land of the Philistines. And God knew that his people were not yet ready for that kind of battle. If they had seen the soldiers waiting for them, they would have turned back in fear. They would have given up on the promised land before they ever came close to reaching it. So God chose the longer road, the harder road, the road that looked from the outside like the wrong road entirely. But it was the right road. When every door you push stays closed, try asking yourself a different question. Not what is wrong with me, but what might God be protecting me from? Because closed doors are not always punishment. They are not always a sign of failure. Sometimes a closed door is the most loving answer God can give. Sign 3. And then there are people and opportunities and connections that one day are simply quietly gone. No dramatic ending, no big argument. They just fade. A friendship that slowly grows cold over months. A relationship that loses its energy without any clear reason. A partnership that falls apart before it could even properly begin. And you are left standing in the space they used to fill, going over every moment in your memory, trying to find where it went wrong, wondering what you did to make them leave. But I want you to consider something you may not have considered before. God does not always remove things from your life loudly. Sometimes he does it quietly, gently, like a careful hand slowly drawing something away before it can cause the damage it was always going to cause. You did not see the danger in that person, but God did. You could not see where that opportunity was really leading, but God could. The silence that came after they left felt like emptiness, like a room with the furniture removed, cold and strange and too big. But what if that empty space was not emptiness at all? What if it was space? Room for something better, something safer, something real to come and fill it. Not every person who walks out of your life is a loss. Some of them were limits. And God quietly removed them so that your life could grow into something they would never have allowed it to become. Let them go. Or better still, trust the one who gently let them go for you. Because what felt like rejection was actually redirection. Sign 4. There is an important difference between being rejected and being redirected. Rejection says you are not enough. You do not belong here. There is no place for you. Go back. Give up. Stop trying altogether. But redirection says something entirely different. Redirection says, not here. Not this one. Not now. Keep moving, but turn in a different direction. There is something better waiting for you, and it is simply not on this particular road. The problem is that from the outside, they feel exactly the same. You apply for the position and do not get it. You pursue the relationship and the person slowly pulls away. You pour yourself completely into something and it falls apart despite everything you did. From the outside, it looks like rejection. It registers in your heart as rejection. The disappointment is completely real. But there is a small and quiet signal underneath all of that if you are still enough to hear it. It is a voice beneath the disappointment, beneath the tears, beneath the frustration. And it says, this was not yours, not this one. Keep going. You know this feeling. You have felt it before in your life. That strange and difficult combination of pain and peace, where you are genuinely sad that something ended, but somewhere underneath the sadness, you are not entirely surprised because some part of you already knew. That knowing is not weakness. That knowing is not giving up too easily. That knowing is God speaking. When God says no to something you wanted, he is not saying no to you as a person. He is saying no to something that would have cost you far more than you were prepared to pay. Rejection from the right source is protection from the wrong path. Sign 5. And then there is the hardest sign of all, the prayer that goes unanswered. You prayed. You prayed with real faith. You prayed with tears running down your face. You prayed the same prayer so many times that the words became worn and familiar, like a path walked over and over in the same place until the ground remembers the shape of your feet. You believed with everything you had. You held on through the doubt. You waited longer than felt reasonable, and nothing came. Or what came looked so different from what you had asked for that it did not feel like an answer at all. It felt like silence. It felt like the room was empty and God had stepped out. I want to tell you about a young man named Joseph. Joseph had dreams, not just the kind that come at night while you sleep. He carried a vision inside him of what his life could become. He believed genuinely in what God had placed inside him. And then one ordinary day, the people closest to him, his own brothers, threw him into a pit in the ground and sold him to strangers passing by on the road. He was taken to a foreign country he had never seen. He was made into a servant. He was falsely accused of something he never did, and he was thrown into a prison cell. He prayed. Of course he prayed. How could he not? And for years, the answer did not come. No miracle appeared. No rescue arrived. No visible sign that anyone was listening. But God was not silent because he was absent. God was silent because he was working. Every painful step, every closed door, every year of waiting was a single thread being carefully woven into something far larger and more beautiful than Joseph could see from inside his prison cell. And when the moment finally came, when the full picture was at last made clear, Joseph looked at the very brothers who had betrayed him and said these words, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." 13 years of waiting, 13 years of silence. And the answer, when it finally arrived, was so much larger than the original prayer. Maybe you are in that waiting room right now. Maybe you have been praying for a long time and hearing nothing in return. Maybe you are quietly wondering if God has forgotten your name somewhere along the way. He has not. He heard you. He sees you. He is working. The silence is not absence. The silence is preparation. Sign 6. Sometimes God does not speak directly to you. Sometimes he speaks through someone who is standing right beside you. A parent who says, "I do not know exactly why, but I do not feel good about this." A friend who pulls you to one side and says something about that person worries me and I cannot fully explain it. A mentor who looks carefully at your plan and says quietly, "I think you should wait a little longer." Even a stranger passing by who says one sentence that stays with you for days afterward and will not leave your mind alone. You did not ask for their opinion. Maybe you did not want it at all. And their words were not perfectly formed or carefully chosen. They could not explain in detail why they felt what they felt. They just sensed that something was off, and they loved you enough to say it out loud anyway. Do not dismiss those moments too quickly. God has always used people to carry messages to those he loves. In the Bible, he used a woman named Abigail to stop a man named David from making a decision he would have regretted deeply for the rest of his life. He used a man named Jethro, simply a father-in-law, to speak honest and necessary wisdom into Moses at a moment when Moses could not see his own exhaustion. He once used an ordinary donkey to stop a man named Balaam from walking straight into serious danger. God is creative and patient with his warnings. And he will use whoever is available and willing to speak into your life. So think carefully today. Is there someone in your life, someone you genuinely trust, someone who loves you without any hidden agenda, who has said something recently that you have been quietly trying to push aside? Not a jealous voice, not someone trying to control you, but a caring voice. A voice that wants nothing for itself except your safety and your good. That voice might be carrying something important. You can ignore it. That is your choice entirely. God will never force you to listen. Or you can slow down. You can sit with what that person said. You can bring it honestly to prayer and ask God, is there something in this warning that I need to hear right now? Because the people who love you sometimes clearly see what love has made you blind to. And God, who loves you most of all, sometimes speaks loudest through the quietest voices in your life. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. Sign 7. This last sign only comes with time. You cannot see it when you are in the middle of the pain. You cannot see it when the tears are still fresh, when the wound is still open, when the loss is still so close it fills every corner of your days. In that moment, all you can see is what is gone. All you can feel is the empty place where something used to live. But time passes, and one ordinary day, without you planning for it, the full picture becomes clear. You find out that the person who left was hiding something you never knew. You discover that the job you did not get belonged to a company that quietly collapsed 6 months later. You learn that the path you were forced away from led somewhere you would never have wanted to end up. And in that sudden moment of clarity, you feel something you did not expect. Not anger, not bitterness, gratitude. A quiet, almost breathless kind of gratitude. Because you begin to understand that something was watching over you the entire time. Something was gently steering you away from the danger before you could see it. And the loss that once broke your heart was actually the hand of God pulling you back from an edge you did not even know you were standing on. There was a woman in the Bible named Naomi. She lost her husband in a foreign land. She lost both of her sons. She was left with nothing except grief and 2 daughters-in-law who were strangers to her home country. She told the people around her to stop calling her Naomi, which means pleasant, and to call her Mara instead, which means bitter, because she felt that God had dealt harshly with her. She could not see any purpose in her pain. She could only see clearly what had been taken. But walk just a little further into her story, and something remarkable appears. Her daughter-in-law Ruth, out of love and loyalty, refused to leave her side. And that loyalty, born directly out of loss and grief, led Ruth to a man named Boaz. And from that union came a family line that reached forward through generations all the way to King David, and further still, all the way to Jesus himself. Naomi could not see any of that from inside her grief. She saw only what was taken. She could not yet see what was quietly being built from the broken pieces. And neither can you. Not yet. But one day you will look back at this season of your life and begin to understand. You will trace the hand that was guiding you even through the moments you felt most completely alone. And you will say the words that so many people before you have said in quiet moments of wonder and deep relief. Thank God I did not get that. Thank God that door stayed closed. Thank God that person walked away. Thank God my prayer was answered differently from the way I asked. The danger you could not see, God saw it all along. And he protected you from it before it could ever reach you. So why does it feel this way? If God is protecting you, why does his protection feel so much like pain? Why does his guidance so often feel like loss? Why does the hand that is holding you together feel so many times like the hand that is pushing you away? This is the question underneath all the other questions, and it deserves an honest answer. The truth is simply this: you and God are not looking at the same picture. You are standing on the ground looking at one single door. You see it close. You feel the weight and the finality of it. You hear the sound of it shutting, and it echoes in your chest like something ending. That is your view from where you are standing. But God is not standing on the ground beside you. God sees the entire building, every door, every corridor, every room. He sees what is behind the door that just closed. He sees the fire already burning in that room. He sees the flood moving down that hallway. He sees the foundation cracking under that floor. You see the door that closed. God sees the fire behind it. And because he loves you, he does not hand you a full explanation. He does not sit down with you and lay out a complete diagram of why he is doing this, with every step labeled clearly from now until the end. He does not explain every decision. He does not need to. He simply asks you to trust him. And that is the hardest thing. Because real trust is not trust when everything makes perfect sense. Real trust is trust when nothing makes sense at all. Trust is standing in front of a closed door with tears on your face and saying, honestly, I do not understand this, but I believe that you do. Human wisdom says, fight for it. If you want something badly enough, push harder. If one door is closed, find a window. If the window is locked, look for another way in. Never stop. Never give up. Take what belongs to you. Divine wisdom says something different. Divine wisdom says, release it. If it keeps closing, let it close. If it keeps leaving, let it leave. If it keeps falling apart, no matter how tightly you hold it open, your hands and let it go. Because the things God truly wants for your life do not require you to force your way to them. This is not giving up. This is not weakness or passivity. This is the deepest form of faith available to a human being. The faith that says, I trust the one who sees what I cannot see. I trust the one who knows what I cannot know. I trust that his no today is quietly building toward a yes that I am simply not yet ready to receive. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not being punished for something you did or did not do. You are covered. You are guided. You are held by a love that does not always explain itself, but has never, not once, stopped working on your behalf. The delay is not denial. The silence is not absence. The closed door is not the end of your story. It is simply God saying, not that way. Trust me, there is a better path forward, and I am already clearing it for you. We have walked through 7 signs together today. The unexplained unease that tells you something is not right, even when you cannot name the reason. The doors that stay closed no matter how hard or how many times you push. The people and opportunities that fade quietly from your life without a clear explanation. The feeling of being redirected rather than rejected when something you deeply wanted does not come to you. The prayers that seem to go unanswered, or that are answered in ways you did not expect or plan for. The trusted voices around you carrying warnings you did not ask for, but genuinely needed to hear. And finally, the clarity that only comes with the passing of time, when you look back and see with your own eyes exactly what you were saved from. 7 signs. 7 different languages that God uses to say the same thing. I see you, I am here, I am working, and I am protecting you from something you cannot yet see. The next time a door closes in your face, pause, breathe. Do not reach immediately for an explanation. Do not decide in that first moment of pain that you are forgotten, unloved, or left behind. Instead, ask a different question. Not why did this happen to me, but what might God be protecting me from right now? That one small shift from why to what can change the way you see everything. It can turn a moment of grief into a moment of trust. It can turn a closed door into the beginning of a new conversation with God. It can turn the hardest day of your year into the first page of a story you will one day tell with deep gratitude and quiet wonder. Because here is what I know, and here is what I hope you carry with you long after this lesson is finished. God has never once stopped watching over you, not on your hardest day, not in your longest season of waiting, not in the silence and not in the loss, and not in the moments when his protection looked so much like pain that you could not tell the difference between the two. He was there. He is here. He will always be there. And what felt like rejection was actually redirection. I hope today's lesson gave you more than new English words and phrases to practice. I hope it gave you a new way of seeing the world around you, because that is what language learning can do at its very best. It does not just teach you how to speak, it opens a window into a new way of thinking, a new way of living that stays with you long after the lesson ends. Keep practicing, keep growing, and I will see you in the next lesson. Thank you for being here today. Keep going, keep trusting, and remember this always. You are not rejected, you are protected.